Now is Wisconsin Congressman Scott Fitzgerald. He's a member of the House Financial Services Committee. Congressman, good morning to you. And, you know, when you start to hear about these senators, and a lot of them were out over the weekend talking about why they're upset with the big, beautiful bill and their concerns, these are from the Republican sides. I'm going to give you a couple examples here. Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama, who, by the way, is going to be running for governor, he's worried about food benefits and the fact that they want the state of Alabama to pay more for food benefits versus the federal government. 5%, by the way. Susan Collins of Maine, she's worried about a provision that limits the taxes that states impose on Medicaid providers like hospitals, worried about rural hospitals. It goes on and on. So this argument is now going to begin this week, and we're going to get more thoughts from them. What is your reaction to that?
Yeah, I mean, God bless the U.S. senators. I love them all. But it's kind of an academic discussion that's ensued where they're all trying to position themselves based on what the House passed. I mean, we all know it's not reality. I mean, if Scott Fitzgerald got to write his own big, beautiful bill, it would look much different than what the House passed. But this is the only show in town right now. And if you're willing to play that type of game with the inability to extend the tax cuts, you got a lot of explaining to do down the road. So I get it, and including my own U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. I love them, and they may be right on some of these points, but the fact of the matter is, it was a huge lift for the Speaker to get this bill through, and for us to go back and just blow it up and try and start from scratch. It would absolutely put President Trump's agenda in jeopardy.
Well, but I don't think Senator Johnson is saying blow it up. He's just saying split it up. But that's not what President Trump wants. He wants one bill. Yeah. So let me ask you this. So the other thing that's been an interesting topic of conversation is about these growth projections. There's a lot of disagreement and discord around the CBO's projection about what the bill does. Now, and just to remind our viewers here, according to the CBO, it would add a net $2.4 trillion to the deficit over a decade. $24 trillion in deficits are already forecast through 2034. So people like Senator Rick Scott, who was on Fox News Sunday yesterday, says that this does not do enough when it comes to fiscal responsibility. And if you think about it, the Republicans are also concerned about the midterms next year, because if you don't deal with the fiscal problems and those promises made, then that could change the House dynamics next year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, there's a lot at stake in the midterms. What I would say was, when I left town on Friday, I was hearing good things about some additional reductions in spending that was going to come out of the U.S. Senate, which that's fantastic. If it's stuff that kind of is, not focused on some of the very specific items that some of the House members had requested to be inserted in the bill so that they could support it ultimately. Obviously, the big one is salt. But, I mean, if they're willing to go further, and I think I heard Senator Schmidt talk about this a little bit over the weekend, it absolutely would help over in the House. So, we've got to deal with this once it's lobbed back over to us. But if it includes some additional reductions, that's wonderful. Let's do it. Let's move forward.
Yeah, and that's what Rand Paul and Rick Scott are talking about. It doesn't go far enough. Liz Peek's on set with me. She's got a question for you.
Good morning, Congressman. Thank you for joining us. I'm very cheered to hear that you have heard that the Senate has some specific additional cuts in mind, because the last time they threw out a budget premise for over the next several years, they didn't have any cuts at all, practically. So what specifically are you hearing? What are they talking about? Because that has been, it's been sort of like, throwing their hands up. They're not happy, but I have not heard anybody come out with anything specific.
No, you're right. I mean, I don't have any numbers yet, but Senator Thune, I think, has exceeded all expectations on kind of going to the wall and saying, hey, listen, each one of you standing committees has to deliver in the same fashion that the House did. And, we all had our targeted numbers, whether it's financial services, of which I was on, which we exceeded that with French Hill. Chairman Jordan in Judiciary exceeded the number that had been set by the conference that we had to hit. And, if they're going to exceed that, and if they're going to do a good job of kind of wading through some additional numbers and making them something that the House members can actually go back and sell in the district, that's awesome. So, I'm as eager as anyone else to see exactly what those numbers look like. But, I think we're headed in the right direction, and I give a lot of credit to Senator Thune on that front.
Yeah, well, and he has said that obviously he's hoping to get something together this week. And of course, that July 4th deadline, the self-imposed, is not far away. So we'll have to see how that develops. I want to ask you about this before we go. There was some late breaking news on Friday. Democrats are now celebrating the return of the suspected human trafficker Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Remember, he's the Salvador national deported to that mega prison back in March. He was returned to the U.S. Friday afternoon to answer federal charges, human smuggling, conspiracy. The Supreme Court had ruled back in March that the U.S. must facilitate his return to the U.S. Well, now he's here. Maryland Senator Chris Von Hollen, who went to see him last month, calls this a victory for the Constitution. Congressman, the Democrats are not acknowledging all of the charges that were laid out in that indictment presented by the Attorney General on Friday. Your reaction?
No, I mean, yeah, they're trying to take a victory lap on something that's just leaving half of the information out there on the street, which is that the courts actually had said he needs to come back because he has got to be run through the legal system again, which, by the way, is going to result in him being incarcerated for a longer period of time. And actually, I hope that after he's done serving that time, we immediately deport him again. So, I mean, you got to kind of connect the dots and follow the entire story. They're only telling half-truths when it comes to, this victory lap that Chris Van Hollen is taking right now.
Well, we've said this many times. If that's the sword that they want to die on, then maybe this is maybe not the best choice for the party. Congressman Scott Fitzgerald, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you. It's great to be with you. Thanks.